Hey everyone, so we are looking at a map of the Magic Kingdom in Florida at Walt Disney World, and I wanted to talk about this. I guess make an analysis on some of the news that they have about some of the additions that they might be providing for the theme park. Now, normally, I like making these analyses. Okay, so I thought this would be an interesting topic. And what's happening is this is the Magic Kingdom, and let me just zoom out. I just got a little portion of it, but we're gonna be marking it up, and I'll be showing you what I think they could do with Tiana's Bayou. Now, this is where the former Splash Mountain, or where the Tiana's Bayou adventure is going to be. So you can see right here the little the little ride layout, and it seems bigger than it actually is. And I guess that this is the show building where you know what, I don't know the exact the layout, but yeah, this might be where the show attraction happens, which is interesting. So now it seems, it's like a smaller footprint than I would have imagined. It seems so big, but actually, when you look at Splash Mountain, so I want to talk about, what they could do with Tiana's Bayou, which we already know that's coming. That's already happening. So that's definitely happening. So then the next thing is, what should they do with the New Orleans Square? Like, that's what I want to analyze, and I want to, think about, like, what should, how should they approach this? There's so many ideas. I don't know that there is a specific, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I thought it'd be interesting to talk about New Orleans Square. Now, in California, at Disneyland, they have the Tiana's Bayou adventure fits better because they actually already have the New Orleans Square land, whereas the Magic Kingdom, the Walt Disney World theme park, does not have. They do not have the New Orleans Square at all. They have they have the Liberty Square, I guess is what instead, which I don't think they have. Yeah, they don't have that at Disneyland. So, but the thing is, so let's just talk about, first off, this location. I mean, I think it's interesting. I've always thought it was interesting that Frontierland, so Frontierland is supposed to be a desert, and Frontierland currently is right here where Big Thunder Mountain, it's this Tom Sawyer Island right here, which is to the right, this right here. Let me erase that. And then kind of this part right here is also the current Frontierland. Now, I've always thought it was interesting that it's like a riverfront, which I guess there are some riverfront towns, but it kind of matches, I guess, but it's kind of a mishmash of different eras, so it's a little bit of the 1800s sort of Western vibe, but then it's also kind of the I guess what would have been the frontiers during the 1700s, where it's like Tom Sawyer would be more of like the middle of the country, right? And then you'd have some where maybe West Virginia or something. It's not always like Western. So it's kind of a mishmash, but I think that's pretty typical of the what you see. At Adventureland, which is like down here, it's kind of the same way, where it's like different, it's like Polynesian slash, Amazon rainforest slash, a little bit of Aladdin, I guess. Like, they're just kind of a mishmash of different cultures. And, that makes sense because at Magic Kingdom, they don't, they're trying to fit in as much as they can. And so it's not 100% accurate. It's not, but that's okay. Because the castle is kind of like that too, even. The Cinderella's castle, right? It's a combination of different styles. It's supposed to be stylized. And it's supposed to be something that is representative of the truth, or it's not really historically. It doesn't have to be historically accurate. They can kind of combine different elements that, even though they kind of go together, but they're not really, they don't actually go together. And so by mixing all of it together, it makes it, it makes it better, because you can kind of get the best of all worlds, right? You can get a little bit of this, you can get a little bit of that, you can get a little bit of, this is the Mississippi River, but, the Mississippi River, right? The Rivers of America is supposed to be the Mississippi River, I think. But it changes, right? So sometimes maybe it's another river, maybe it's another. So it's like, a weird, might be it's basically meant to represent different rivers at the same time, if that makes sense. And now this would be, I guess this would be kind of the town right here would be kind of a western town maybe. And there were some riverfront western towns. So like I said, now with that explanation, even with so let's get back to Tiana's Bayou Square, or Tiana's Adventure. Yeah, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which is obviously an interesting ride. I mean, it looks, it looks like it's going to be kind of a big, what they call, an E attraction or whatever, a big attraction. So, it's exciting to see that, I guess. But what I want to talk about is, what's going to happen with New Orleans Square, right? And nobody really knows exactly where the boundaries are or how they're going to integrate that land, or if they're going to integrate it, right? Because I guess you could, on the one hand, take on the possibility that perhaps, in theory, they could just not have a land, but that would be kind of weird, I guess, to not have it be a part of a land. I don't know how. I guess they could alternatively just say, well, it's just frontier land. I don't know. I don't know if that's a possibility, but they could just say this is the Mississippi River, right? So maybe they could say, oh, it's part of, if they really wanted to be cheap, right? They could just, because that's the other thing too. The money, right? It's any sort of change would require a lot of money, and why spend the money if the things are already there, right? And why not spend that money on something new, right? If they're going to build a new land, why not put it somewhere else? That way they can expand the footprint of the entire park and also keep, you know what I mean? So it's a money thing too, right? And then the other thing as well is so much effort was put into the original, and we would hope, right, in the original Frontierland, that we would hope that that same level of effort is put into whatever else comes, right? And so what's the best way to do that, right? So now let's go back to, so let's talk about New Orleans Square. And first of all, it would be a weird boundary, right? Imagine having, because this is Frontierland, and then this is Frontierland, and then kind of you have this in the middle. I guess you could bridge it here, but it's, it's a little weird, right? It's a little weird to have this kind of walk. But I think it's still, it could be doable, but let me just give off what I think could be done, right? So in my view, so Splash Mountain, it actually extends, as you see right here. This is kind of part of the ride. Now, this is part of the ride, and so I know that much. I haven't been there recently, but so I'm familiar enough though. I used to visit it a long time ago, I guess, more often. And so this is where the kind of the ride comes off. And so this is basically Tiana's Bayou is all this. Now, so the thing is, what I think would be kind of cool is if, perhaps, we say that this is a river, right? A riverfront, because New Orleans is actually built on the banks, right? On the western or eastern? On the eastern bank of the Mississippi River. So, ideally, it's kind of weird that it's separated. And you can't, I guess it could fit to put a New Orleans here and then have this be the Mississippi River. So that, that is one option. but that would require transforming all this to New Orleans Square, right? So let me, um, but what I would say is perhaps, I mean, if we wanted to save money, right, you would leave this and then just expand. And so here's my idea. So what if, so let's just start with this. What if, what if, so this right here is where there's a train station here, and this is actually part of the queue or the line, and there's like there's like a store here, and then there's like another, this is where we get off, I guess, where you get off. So all of this is actually part of sort of what used to be Splash Mountain, or what would be Tiana's Bayou Square. So actually, it's always kind of weird how, even as weird as it sounds, like it's always been kind of weird how there's it's a huge footprint. Actually, it's a huge, and I don't know what it is, but like back in the old days, this whole thing was filled with switchbacks, where theme park goers would just go over and over to go. Let me just you would go over and over all over this, and then come inside, and so that's how it used to be. And now it doesn't seem to be that way. I don't know what's changed, but basically, it's a very high capacity attraction. So I hope that Tiana's Bayou Adventure will sort of maintain that. And it would be interesting to me, though, if you're going to have a queue, I don't know that it's a good idea to have the queue be sort of taking up this valuable space, right? Like, why not have, and this is an idea that I've had, is why not have the queue, like, come in here and then go out here and then have, switchbacks here and then come back here. That would be a better way to do the queue. That way the queue is not interfering with this valuable, land. Because if we don't use this for queues, right, I'm talking about the line, okay, the line, right, where you wait in line. If we're not, if they can do that somewhere else, and they should do this with all new rides or new attractions, right? Is to have it outside, because here it doesn't really matter. It could even be way outside property. It doesn't matter, like outside of here, or it could be, in another weird way. You could have, it doesn't have to be. It could just be like, kind of like that, like it could go all the way out here and then all the way back. Like it could be some. And all of this is in an effort to save space so that we could use this space for something else. So now imagine, they should kind of implement that with all attractions, but let's just say, so with that idea, right? So here's what I was thinking. Imagine if this, right, like if we wanted to save money, like you could possibly keep this as Frontierland, right? Because like whatever country, like it's pretty popular right now, right? Like Beyonce just released a country album, right? Or you have there's country, right? Like it's still, people still like Western stuff, right? It's kind of fun, right? Red Dead Redemption is one of the most popular video games. I mean, people like the Western theme, and it's all kinds of, in the West, the Wild Wild West is kind of like whatever you want it to be, right? It's a fantasy. It's not 100%, real. I mean, it is based on history, but it's not like, there's a fantasy element to it. And there's a reason, I think, why Walt Disney, probably it was fun. There's something kind of exciting and interesting about it. And it definitely represents California, right? Which is where, Disneyland, right? So it's a big thing with Disneyland too. So anyway, but let's just go back to this. So what I was saying here is, imagine if we could use this. So let's say we could just use this area right here and just kind of transform this into New Orleans Square, right? Like what if instead of being a ride or instead of being a location for switchbacks, or where people are waiting in line and going back and forth, instead of doing that, how about have it be like this can be New Orleans Square, right? Like imagine we could have buildings here, right? And then buildings here. So this is kind of a walkway, and this becomes kind of New Orleans Square. Right, so let's just, maybe I should change the color. Or now I'll just keep it like this. All right, so like imagine this could be New Orleans Square right here. Now, so you have maybe the shops here. And then here you could have this. And then I know they're supposed to add like an attraction, right? Like isn't Tiana's restaurant, I don't remember what it's called, but obviously in the movie, the restaurant is like a big thing, isn't it? Is it not? So imagine if like if the restaurant was such a big deal with Tiana in the movie, in the actual Princess and the Frog movie, what if, so I know there have been sort of news that this is where the current Pecos Bill restaurant is. It's a quick service restaurant, and what that means is it's like high capacity, well, I know it used to have like a buffet line. It used to have like a nice topping bar that you could add onto it, which either way I think is awesome if they brought it back. But the thing is, like it's a place where people eat, where they used to sell, I don't know, now they're selling like tacos, I think. I haven't been there in a long time, so I have no idea. But they used to sell like burgers but also nachos too, like a long time ago. This is a long time ago. But still, like with the topping bar, it was awesome. And the thing is, so it's right here, and it's a high capacity. It's one of the restaurants that kind of people went to, aside from Cosmic Rays in Tomorrowland. The Pecos Bill, or the Pecos Bill sort of restaurant is like a big, it's where people get burgers and fries, right? And so I don't know, I've heard some people say, well, we should make like a quick service for Tiana's. And I feel like a better idea might be to have a sit-down restaurant for Tiana right here, because after all, the Tiana restaurant, I feel like it's meant to be dignified. It could be like, be our guest. I mean, if you see in the movie, isn't there a whole sequence? There's like a whole sequence where it shows her like, it's like a fancy restaurant. And why not have like a kind of like that be our guest? Like I went there a long time ago actually, and look how cool the rooms are, and the be our guest sort of the restaurant that's in Fantasyland at Magic Kingdom, right? Like imagine if we had something similar to it here, and it could be like in this location. That way it's its own sort of sit-down restaurant, and it's kind of, and then you can keep Pecos Bill here. So the restaurant could be here, or it could be here, either way. Have it, but then people can walk. They can walk up to it. You're coming in through here, and you walk into this kind of square, a literal square. I mean, we call it New Orleans Square, right? And this is a square right here. All right, let me just take all this out. So this is the square. So imagine the restaurant here, and then this is a literal square right here, a New Orleans Square. Like, wouldn't that be cool? Right? And then you could, so it could be its own land right here. You could have the restaurant be there perhaps. Or, and it kind of matches with this too, because obviously it's all theming. And then this right here, you could have a shop here. And so make this into a shop, and instead have the queue, like I said before, have the queue kind of come out here so that it's out of the way, and, have people walking around here or whatever, and then come back. And it can all be indoors too. It doesn't have to be outside, but like, and have them going up and down. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be a level, flat, like, make use of space, make use of ramps, make use of, so that it goes up and down, so that it doesn't take up that much space, because space is at a premium. So imagine if you did this, you could make space for this. Now, so here's a restaurant, right? So what could be here? Like, imagine if there was a store here, maybe other stores here, right? And then maybe you could even have a sort of another attraction, another New Orleans Square attraction. You could have a whole land based on Tiana's world, right? You could have another attraction. Maybe you could have like what would be a good idea? Like maybe like a swamp. You could actually add a swamp area here, which I know that sounds weird to have it next to this, because you would be able to see this, but I think it's possible to hide it. They could add like some tall trees or something here so that it hides this, so that you don't see this mountain here. You could hide it so that, imagine if they added like a swamp area, kind of a place where you could walk around, which I wish that there was more of that. That doesn't cost money. Something similar to what they've recently done with that Moana water thing, that little splash pad place that they've had, right? So imagine if they did that with a swampy area, right? Isn't that what they want, the swamp? So imagine if we added a swampy area here and just had a place where people could just walk around. Like, that's free, that doesn't cost money. And like right now, like even though Disney makes a lot of money, they're making hand over fist amounts of, like the demand is high. It's huge. Capacity is pretty high. It could be higher actually, but the demand is really high. And what I'm saying is, like, it's interesting to me. The problem is not so much the demand, because there are people that want to, they want to have the Disney experience. The problem is they're kind of wasting money. I actually think it's a waste. The problem with Disney is not trying to increase money. No, the money is there. They're making the money. The issue is more the wasting of the money. I feel like there's a lot of, they're wasting money on things that don't need to be wasted, and also not using things to their full capacity the way that they should be. And so that's what I'm kind of, proposing here. So wasting in a sense that, so I don't think it's a money issue. It's an expenditure issue. You need to be, I don't know, for example, that spending 500, however much money they spent on like Galaxies, or not on, the rides. We need to be cognizant of how much money the rides cost. And so that's why I offered this idea that, imagine if you had like a swamp area similar to the Moana, because I like that as a concept. I don't know that I like the location where it is at Epcot, but like I like as a concept, right? It's pretty cool. Like imagine if you had a swamp area, and that could be an attraction in and of itself, right? And then you could also have kind of little things from the movie too, right? Like maybe like Tiana's house, or, something else, like have a little house. And I already said that they could, maybe have like a big wall here that covers, so you don't see Thunder Mountain. You're not going to see Thunder Mountain as you're walking through here. Another thing too is to use like hills. I know that there aren't hills in New Orleans, right? It's a flat place, but like making the use of hills is awesome, I think, and it's fun. But of course, you have to be safe about it, because people are using wheelchairs, so you want to always have a path that goes up and down, just like Tom Sawyer Island has a lot of like steps, right? They have places where you can go up and down, but they also have ramps. And so I think it's okay to have hilly places as long as there are ramps, right? So, but I guess that's not really relevant here, because New Orleans Square wouldn't have too many hills. But I really think in a theme park, it's nice to use sort of hills as a way to create sort of a backdrop, right? Like when you're walking up Main Street, there is something dramatic about walking up to the castle, right? As it's looming above you, right? And so hills do play a role in creating sort of the illusion of distance and grandeur. You feel smaller when it's slightly above you. So it has its place. And even though people obviously who are, using wheelchairs or strollers, it's, you want it to be safe for them too. So you always want to have a way of moving things. And of course, also the employees, right? They need to be able to walk through safely as well. And so you have to think about all of those things when you're designing. But here's the thing. So imagine you have buildings here, and there it is, and there's your New Orleans Square, right? Like imagine if New Orleans Square was basically what I just drew here, like this here, it starts here, you go inside here, There's Tiana's restaurant here, a nice sit-down restaurant, and then you could have kind of a swampy area here or here. It could be here or there. It doesn't matter. And then you could have like Tiana's house or something else. Like you could build a whole place and then have stores all along it, right? So basically, let's just go back and then this, of course, this is the ride, right? Because instead of having the switchbacks here, you could have it out here. Yeah, I talked about that. Okay, so let's just go back. Another thing too to consider is, okay, so the current location of the Frontierland train station is this right here. This brown thing right here is actually where the train station is right now. It's called the Frontierland train station. And one of the reasons why I think they feel compelled to change the whole land, of course, is because it's weird to have the train station, right? The Frontierland train station, it's called that. And it's literally right next to Tiana's Bayou, which is supposed to be in New Orleans. So I think they might be thinking, well, I guess we have to, they have to redesign. Now, even in my proposal, right? Like imagine if this was all New Orleans Square, where I'm highlighting right now, and then here would be the restaurant, right? If this was all New Orleans Square, and we could ignore this, the riverfront can just stay Frontierland or whatever. But if this was all New Orleans Square, like in my idea, it would be kind of weird to have this train station kind of in the middle, right? Like you could turn it, like it would be weird I guess it would be called the New Orleans train station, or what's it called? New Orleans Square train station or whatever. Or, it would be a little weird, right? Because most people who are trying to get here are, they leave and then they're immediately in Frontierland. It might be a little weird, right? Not to mention the sightline. If we're trying to create, like this is like, right? Somebody's walking towards here, right? Here's the arrow. And then there's this big train station. And then, the Tiana restaurant is right here, right? The train station is blocking that path. And so now, so it creates sort of a sightline problem, right, with this, as well as the fact that it's a Frontierland train station, right? So another thing I forgot to mention is I really like tight spaces. Like obviously you want wide spaces, but you also want to, and that's another thing that I kind of like about this land concept is that, it's kind of narrow. It's a narrow land, right? But I feel like it's nice. I think we've seen this in Universal Studios, like in the Harry Potter place, right? Where they have these kind of tight corridors, and it's not that tight, but the illusion, they like get rid of all the topiary. I feel like a lot of these lands, they're built like they're suburbs or something. And really, we're at a theme park. We don't need topiary to kind of, like they're building like plants and trees right next to like these buildings. We could just do without that, and it could still have high capacity and wide pathways, but just with the buildings themselves. And what I'm saying is like this would be a path, right? It looks narrow, but it's not really narrow. I mean, it's still gonna be a wide street, right? It's gonna be a wide pathway. But I feel like this would create a nice illusion. It just looks nice. I don't know how to explain it, but there's something cozy about walking up to a town that feels authentic. And to me, this would be a great way of creating sort of an authentic looking New Orleans Square. And it's easy to hide. Again, like we see this big mountain, but the truth is it's really not that big. Like you could cover it with trees. Seriously, trees, and it's not that big. It really isn't. The spires are actually the tallest parts. And you could easily hide that with buildings. Well, you could have tall buildings, I guess, tallish buildings that could cover that. Or you could have kind of, even a wall would work. But now, so, I mean, okay, so going back to the train station, right? So what would happen with the train station, right? Just me running off with ideas, right? So, like, imagine maybe if the train station, you could redo it for New Orleans, as a New Orleans Square train station, right? But then, like I said, it might ruin, right, the sight line when you're looking into the Tiana restaurant, right? A nice sit-down restaurant, which I guess you could see in the movie what it might look like. But it doesn't have to be that exact restaurant, of course. But since it is New Orleans Square, it might as well be that, right? Like, why not? So, now, so instead, right? So, So what could we do instead, right? And so maybe, like, another idea would be, like, here's the train station right here, or here's the train, right? Like, this is the train. It kind of goes down here. That's the train station. And then it goes through Splash Mountain, and it kind of follows. You can kind of see it very lightly. It's that kind of dark gray right here, see? And it's going through where I'm highlighting right now, right? So that's kind of the train station. It goes through the Pirates. This is the Pirates attraction. Yeah. So I guess you walk in through here, and the boat part is here. Yeah. So okay, so there's the train station. That line, the blue line, is the train station. So now imagine if. Now one thing to consider is, I was thinking, and I know this might seem weird, because imagine, what if the train station could be moved so here's the train station, right? Here's the train line. What if the train station could be moved there, right? Because if it were moved there, we could just call this the Frontierland, right? And it could just be the Frontierland train station that leads out to Frontierland. And then we can get rid of this and open it up so that, so that we can have a clear square. So imagine, it'll just be a train line passing by, but it's not going to be a full-on train station. Not to mention so many people getting in and out. Like, imagine if you had a train station here. Now, of course, there's one issue, and this is a possible thing, because what this would solve is that this would make it so that you could easily get into Frontierland. You don't get into this weird, it's called it would make it so that possibly, right? This is just a possibility. Like, you could put it here and have people get off and then get into Frontierland or whatever. But the only issue here is that the parade passes through here, right? So this is where it starts. The parade passes through here, and so, there might be a problem where it might not be tall enough, I guess. Like, there might not be a way. They would have to make the train station be, like, underground or something, because the objects have to go, the floats have to go on it, right? Like the dragon, like some of the parade has to go through here. So perhaps they would have to create like a hill of some kind, or make it underground. I don't know. It would have to be an underground railroad train station. But it would free up this part right here so that you could see, right, a restaurant, and you could walk into New Orleans Square. And then here, it would, I mean, it's an idea, but not now that I'm thinking about it. It maybe it's not. It's the parade might mess this up, but it could be an ideal location, and it's worth me mentioning, because it's something that I've thought about. So instead of being here, it could be here. So, all right, that's another idea. Now, the last thing I was going to say is sort of, we're talking about New Orleans Square and what it means to, we're talking about New Orleans Square, and the idea is, if there were any future expansions, right? Like, so, people have talked about, so imagine if this was New Orleans Square, you could have sort of, you could have an area here where it's a bridge could connect to any future land. And so instead of having a bridge, because I don't know where the bridge would be here, right? Like there is no pathway around here. There's no path at all. So the pathway, one possible pathway, instead of sort of destroying, you could leave Tom Sawyer Island and Big Thunder Mountain all alone if you could just have it branch off here, have the bridge come off here. So any future expansion could be out here. And so this would be New Orleans Square, this would be the restaurant, and then there's a bridge up here connecting to the land, and we could just preserve the River of America, or whatever it's called, right? You could preserve this whole thing, actually. Like, why get rid of it? It's a nice oasis. It's water, right? Isn't Florida, like, full of water? Like it's just a nice thing that can happen, right? It's a nice part of the landscape, and why get rid of it? Why not keep it and then just there's plenty of land here. I guess we can't see it in this photo, but like there's land here enough and perhaps, we could just have the bridge connecting here, because that's also another issue that I think, people might be. There's another path out here too, to the left, to the right, I mean. Yeah, there's a path here as well if there's an expansion. But like imagine this could be the expansion place. This could be where it expands. So that's an idea. And yeah, it's interesting to see but really, I mean, the big reason why, one of the reasons why I think this is a great idea is because if you notice, okay, so here's the bridge. If you notice, right, this idea, what it does is first of all, it takes away the queue and puts it out here somewhere. You can make it as tall, you can have it go up and down, you can make it as thin as possible, but by having New Orleans Square here, we're actually increasing, right? You're increasing the size of the theme park of Magic Kingdom, right? And then these buildings, of course, could go down here. So any of, like, I understand there's utility buildings here or whatever. They could go down here, or so even though there's a little bit of a switch that you might have to do, for the most part, like imagine if it would preserve this part, right? This would create new space where you can fit you can increase the capacity, right? You want a lot of people to be able to fit. Like whatever is added, it should be added. It should be an actual addition and not just a replacement. Because if you're replacing something, it's like it doesn't increase the capacity at all. It's like you might as well not have replaced it at all, right? I don't know if that makes sense. Like, because I guess what I'm saying is, imagine if you just do Tiana's, this is Tiana's Bayou Square, right? And then this is Tiana's restaurant. And then this is New Orleans Square. Okay, but you didn't increase the capacity, right? You just kind of wasted, you know what I mean? Like the capacity is not increased at all. It's the same. So I don't know. I think it might be a good idea just to increase the capacity and just add, if you're going to add something, if we're going to spend money, right? If Disney wants to spend money, I guess, like why not spend it on something new that would actually increase capacity instead of, right? Like, and it would save money too. But it would also add space, so thousands of more people could fit. And likewise, to have a queue or a line that goes outside, make that standard. And, that way you can get the people. What happens is you're getting the people out of this part and you're getting people here so that they spend time, outside. And that by adding things like that, it increases the capacity. Yeah, the other idea that I mentioned about how, like, the swamp area, right? Similar to that Moana thing. Like, imagine if you had that. You could have this. You could have it be here, and it, people would stand around. It's a great way to get people to do things and discover things. Maybe have some caves. Maybe have some cool, just cool little artifacts. Not just gardens. I know gardens. People don't really explore gardens so much. Like, I think it's interesting how, like, I feel like in America, like, people, like, plants and topiaries are like a backdrop. I've never seen anybody, like, I know in Japan they value that. In Japan they'll walk around like this, what is it called? Like these Zen gardens or whatever. These Japanese gardens where there's rocks and, little rocks and little ponds, and people will actually sit down and look at them and appreciate them. I don't feel like that's how plants are in America. I really don't. Like, when was the last time, like, how popular are gardens in America? Or what are those things called? Like, no, what are they called? Like, I can't think of it right now, but basically, like, you don't see that in America. People really don't appreciate gardens, and sometimes they put them, they're more like something that you just look at and then you just walk past. It's not something that people usually analyze, right? Like you don't, I don't know. Like I'm sure there are some people who do, but I'm saying like botanical gardens, right? Like how popular are those? Not that many, not as much, right? And some of these, it's amazing to me how some hotels, right? Some resorts and some like places, they put so much, like there are so many trees, like it might as well be a botanical garden. And yet nobody, I don't see people appreciating it. A lot of times I think it's so weird how like you'll be driving down the freeway, right? And you look around and you'll see like grass, along the highway. You'll see like the super nice tree, right? Or super nice garden or whatever. And it's impressive when you walk in, right? When you see these, water fountains spraying and all this. But like obviously you're driving, you can't really appreciate it. And it doesn't even have a walkway sometimes to be able to, they're like right along the freeway. So it's like it's weird how like gardens are just something you look at for a little bit, for like a few seconds, and you walk away. And so I guess what I'm saying is, what was the point I was trying to make? Like basically, like I feel like here's what I'm trying to say. So like this if there was like a kind of a swampy area, right? You have to make it interesting. It can't just be trees. And in fact, I would say it'd probably be better to have fake rock, have animatronics, right? Have something interesting that people will want to look at. That's what a theme park is about. So, that's why I think Tom Sawyer Island is actually a great sort of example of how to make something interesting. There's caves in Tom Sawyer Island. There's all kinds of, there's a fort thing. There's like pathways. There's like interesting little houses and like interesting like bridges, like weird stuff like that. You want weird and unusual things that go beyond not trees. Like trees have become a backdrop in our society in America. Like they're almost invisible in a way, and it's like a waste. And so in a way, if we want to, what I would say is, if you want to create that, like imagine my idea would be kind of like a swampy area, but it has to have interesting things, have animatronic crocodiles, have animals, have little funny gags too, funny little things that make people want to always come visit. So they make a tradition of, hey, you know what? We got to visit that weird little place, right? That weird little place with the, with the little cave or whatever, any little thing, logs. Maybe you could have logs crisscrossing each other. That's something that you have like mangrove, like, what are those called? Like those trees that grow, mangroves, whatever. They grow on the water, like whatever, like weird stuff. You could have like maybe wooden bridges that, something that makes people want to kind of visit and something that there has to be interesting things that will make people want to walk through it. The other thing, I wanted to talk about the restaurant, which is like, we talk about the quick service restaurant, right? So imagine like if this were, the importance of Pecos Bill, I guess. So I talked about how much I really like the topping bar, which is like old, like a long time ago. But with, like imagine the Tiana's restaurant, right? So if the Tiana restaurant, the thing is, with the Tiana's restaurant, we're, like how, I mean, right, if you're doing the theming, right, imagine if they did make a quick service restaurant of Tiana's restaurant and put it here, it would be replacing a Pecos Bill, which, they sell like, it's supposed to be like a big, busy restaurant, right? Because people have limited palates, right? And so what I'm saying is, I don't know that New Orleans is really good food, right? Like they have like the jambalaya and all kinds of, and so imagine like if you had the Tiana's restaurant right here, as they're stepping out of Tiana's Bayou Adventure, they could smell it right here. You could sell the beignets or whatever right here, or even here or here. Like you could sell it right as they come out instead of, and the reason why I say this is because I feel like we still need a sort of burgers and fries restaurant, and Pecos Bill can be that, right? That can be kind of that restaurant, and the thing is, I don't know that that would work if it was a Tiana quick service, right? Because it's not, you want something that, I mean, are you going to be selling burgers at Tiana's, right? Like, people still need, burgers and fries. Like, as weird as it sounds, but a lot of, like, that's what people want. Some people, they have, they've been getting really creative with the, like, the sort of the offerings, right, at Disney, even though I haven't been there often, but like people, not everyone likes sort of, exotic food, right? In fact, I would say a lot of people, most people, they just want, some basic, a turkey sandwich or something, like just basic stuff. And that's the kind of thing that Pecos Bill and, Pecos Bill more southwestern, but originally Pecos Bill a long time ago, it was just a burger place. Like sort of the version, it's like the Cosmic Rays. It was basically the West Cosmic Rays, because the Cosmic Rays on the other side of the park, right? There's another restaurant, and this one, in other words, turn it into a high traffic restaurant where people can just get their food and go out. So the kind of person that dines at Pecos Bill, and are people who just want to get in and get out. And sometimes that's a good thing, because there's no other restaurant that has the footprint that Pecos Bill has. And so that's why I'm saying it would be a good idea if Pecos Bill continued to be that, or if it became. Do they still sell burgers? I don't even know. But the thing is, if they continued to do that, that would be a good thing. And then just have the Tiana's Bayou be like the Tiana's restaurant can be right here, and it can be just like whatever it's called. I already said this. The Beauty and the Beast, right? So it could be that, and then that way, because the thing is, the palate, like the New Orleans, I don't know that everyone necessarily wants to eat jambalaya and beignets and whatever the food. It might be the theming might limit the food options, and people really, they want the current offerings at Pecos Bill, I think, better suits sort of your average, like, hey, I just want some tacos, tacos, burgers, and fries, and nachos, which is what they sell at Pecos Bill, right? And then if they could bring back the topping bar, that would be even more awesome. So I'm saying this fits the role of being sort of one of the two main restaurants where everyone can just go to, and you don't have to worry about if you don't like the flavors, right? Because some people don't like the spicy food. I meet a lot of people, and New Orleans, it's pretty good, right? I like it. I like a lot of the food, the sausage stuff, and it's pretty good. But not everyone likes spicy food. I meet a lot of people who they just don't like spicy food. They don't like, so it doesn't. Sometimes you got to think about the idea that a lot of people don't like spicy food, and especially, I guess, younger people, right? Especially younger people. They really sometimes they just want chicken nuggets and fries, right? So, and fries with nice cheese topping and mushroom and onions like they used to have at the topping bar, right? So that, that I guess I keep, kind of talking about that because I really like it. And apparently they haven't brought that back. So now that we, I guess we've talked about most of the New Orleans that I've thought. We talked about the train station. We talked about, yeah. The other thing too is they could. Oh yeah, that's another thing I could mention is imagine if maybe, that's here. So let's say there's the store ideas here. Imagine if we had a bridge here. Obviously, it would have to be a bridge that's ramped, right? So it'll be kind of a little hill here. But you could also make this kind of a little riverfront, right? This could be an accessible riverfront. So this could be a second riverfront, because New Orleans actually has a riverfront. And so this would be the New Orleans riverfront with the bridge. right? Or you could even have the bridge. I mean, if you don't want the bridge to be so prominent, like maybe you could have kind of the bridge, like, because here's the train station bridge, right? So like maybe you could have the bridge kind of be like this, maybe, and then have this be kind of an open area where people can look out. And this could be kind of Mississippi River, right? Like, wouldn't that be awesome? Because technically, like, you know, this doesn't have to be well, this isn't the Mississippi River, right? This is like the Western River or whatever it is. And this is like, I don't know what river that is. And this, obviously, this is like some Colorado River, right? Yeah, this is the Colorado River because this is where the canyons are. So like the Mississippi River could be here. We don't even have a Mississippi River. So like maybe, and you could just have the bridge be kind of along the side here. And this would connect to any future land up here, which we could talk about another time if you guys want. I don't know if you guys like this video, we can do more. So, but yeah, like you could have this riverfront here. Yeah, if you guys want more of these videos, that would be, you know, you could watch this video and like it. And so like this right here. So yeah, you could have the riverfront be here, and these like these areas like this right here could be kind of a place where, you know, people could hang out, and this could be kind of the Mississippi River place, right? So that's another option. It's another way of looking at it. And of course, you could also have another attraction, like some smaller attraction that could fit into the theme, right? So you could, and so I'm really big on kind of, I like museums, so it would be awesome if there were places where you can walk in and see interesting things. Like that's very important, and I think sometimes, you know, people don't realize that, like attractions, people will go to places if you make it special. And so everything that you do, everything that is built should be with, you know, put love and care to it, and people will appreciate it and will see what you do. You know what? So that's what I'm saying. Like this, if you know, make it, you know, so often I feel like a lot of these lands, they put so much topiary, they waste so much space doing the topiary, when every single thing, it should look more like St. Augustine. Have you been to like that's how, so did you see these buildings right here? You know, where the arrows are pointing? Like these buildings here, it should feel like I'm walking down, like, you know, those streets in St. Augustine. That's how I want it to, you know, it shouldn't be like, you know, don't waste time on these topiary stuff, because you know, like I said, it's not, there's not a lot of space, but it also feels cozier. It feels like authentic. It feels like how it would have been anyway. And so, you know, you walk through here, it would add capacity, and also it would feel like you're in a special place. And the reason, sometimes we forget that when sometimes, you know, a lot of these new attractions, they've built them and they don't have the same level of detail that some of these other lands originally had. So yeah, so I mean, this right there shows kind of my concept, I guess, and of how a New Orleans square could be. And then of course all of these buildings here, right? So all of these buildings could be kind of rearranged down here, right? So put these buildings somewhere else, put them here. Because I know obviously these are facility buildings that, like, I think there's like the parade stuff. That's probably what it is. But, you know, but like imagine, this would be a great way to add capacity, because this would add like thousands of more people could fit if you can increase. And then you don't have to like waste money changing this or take away the capacity of this, right? Of the current Frontierland, if, you know, if that's a possibility, right? Like I'm just offering it as just a possible way to do this. And it fits in great with this Tiana's Bayou. So, you know, I hope that, you know, whatever happens, you know, I hope they put, you know, the level of attention that they have with other projects as well. So anyway, what do you all think about this? I think I've said a lot of what I wanted to say. And so, yeah, it's an interesting topic just because, I don't know, it's just something that, you know, just something interesting, and it would be cool. It'd be cool to see. Um, I don't know. I just thought it would be an interesting way of making a land, right, while still preserving. Because I'll be honest with you, I still remember the Pecos Bill. You know, maybe I'm just nostalgic for the topping bar or whatever. Like really, like, but anyway, yeah, like people need to eat, right? Like people are so hungry. You have no idea how many times, like people are hungry when they're walking around, especially a hot theme park. Like people get hungry. They need to eat a lot. And so fries are cheap. You know, fries and burger and bread, you know, fries and ketchup and, you know, a little bit of, you know, put a bunch of toppings on top of it and a cheese, you know, like that. People get happy about that. Not only does it make them happy, but it gives them more energy to do more things. And it also raises their metabolism because they want to eat more. Believe it or not, when you eat, you know, and you're walking a few hours later, you're going to want to eat more and eat more snacks. And so that's why, like, I think it's important that that for an active place like the Magic Kingdom, Disney should really be throwing a lot of French fries at them. Seriously, like you should be throwing a lot of food. Feed them, and they'll be able to stay longer, and they'll be excited, and they'll associate it with a happy thing. Not to mention, people will remember that they're happy. It makes them happy, right? Like it makes you want to come back. And so yeah. So anyway, those are my ideas. Yeah, and of course the Tiana restaurant can be here. So that would be kind of the highlight, I guess, right? Like imagine if you had a Tiana's restaurant and it had different rooms. Like even they had a whole like music. Isn't there a song like the Almost There song? Yeah, that whole thing is about a celebration of her restaurant, and that's her whole work. And so it would be awesome to see, right, that come to life. Like bring Tiana's sit down restaurant. That could be a special restaurant where people come, and it can be like that would be awesome, and just have it be out here and sitting right next to and you could sell the beignets even there or just outside somewhere else. But like that, you know, the people will like that's the whole movie. Isn't the movie has gumbo, it has all of that. It has all of this. The food is like an important part of it. And I feel like a great dignified way to do that is to have its own sit down restaurant right here, right, and to have it there, have it be its own thing, have it be, you know, it's not going to be in a corner, it's kind of tucked in. This is like a 1-floor place. No, this could be like a whole building. This could be a 2-floor, you know, big restaurant, elegant. It can have you know, a sit down place. It can have people like serving food just like they show in a movie, right? And you could even have you could have a meet and greet, right, with the characters. Like it would be so awesome, right? Like imagine just a restaurant right here. And yeah, like now that I think of it, it has a distinct, don't we know what it looks like anyway? So like it wouldn't be that hard to recreate. Like we kind of already know what the restaurant is supposed to look like. Yeah, and by having New Orleans Square, you could actually have kind of a recreation of New Orleans as I've shown here. So yeah, like that. And yeah, so those are my ideas. I think that covers a lot of what I wanted to say. And then, of course, the Tiana's Bayou ride, which is going to be here. It looks like it's doing okay, although the trees, I don't know, it looks kind of weird, the trees, how they're looking. So that's what I'm saying. But I mean, I guess it doesn't really, yeah, it hopefully the ride comes out okay. I think it's pretty, you know, it should be a good ride. So it'll be interesting to see how they deal with it. But, you know, today we talked more about the New Orleans Square and how I think it should go and how it would be really good to do it, how it could fit into this, and how, of course, you could transition into the next land right here, you know, with this bridge right here alongside it, you know, possibly have a waterfront here so, you know, people can kind of hang out, because that's kind of what they do at New Orleans, isn't it? there is a riverfront, so it would be perfect to have it here. Because the problem with New Orleans Square right now is that this riverfront, I guess it could be here too, but like there's too many trees here. I don't know, like the riverfront, yeah, it's okay, but like, it's a little awkward, right? Like see here, like this little bridge thing here. And it's like a bridge thing. I don't, they have like this bridge thing. I don't know what you call it, but like there's this bridge. It's like a walkway that's alongside this river. And that's not how it, it doesn't look like a very elegant waterfront, right? It kind of looks just like a pathway, but that's exactly what it is. This is where the parade stops here. So the reason why this pathway exists is so people can walk around the parade. And it's constantly people just walking from one place to another. It's a utilitarian walkway, or it's a walkway that is used, but it's not really meant for, relaxation, so to speak, right? It's almost like a freeway for feet, right? Like people walk down this path, they walk from, like, let's take away all this blue for a minute. Hold on. Okay, so like what people do here is, so what people do is they'll walk, like this is like a freeway for people, and and so people just walk back and forth from here to here, because sometimes there's a parade that's going through here. This is the parade route, and it's also a shortcut, I guess, to go from like Thunder Mountain to like Haunted Mansion or whatever, or Fantasyland. Or so like the thing is though, if we're gonna have this, right, that's why it doesn't make a pretty like coastline, even though it doesn't make a nice waterfront, is what I mean. Now I don't know if that matters too much, but like what I'm saying is if they made a little mini waterfront here and maybe had the bridge go around here, it could be kind of I guess what I'm saying is it could be it offers an opportunity to have a little port, right? Because New Orleans has a port, so you could have a little port section, that's kind of realistic, but also have a place where people could hang out. Like people can just walk here. It could be a nice, peaceful place, like right here, where where people can sit down and eat their beignets, and there's a little water right there, and it's a calm place. It's not a place with heavy foot traffic like here, like it would be here, but instead it's a nice place right here, and it would be isolated in a way, kind of away. You'd probably be hearing the screams of Thunder Mountain, but oh well, and I guess the train that passes by. But see, I like that. I like that there's a bridge here and a bridge here, because that's kind of how it is in New Orleans anyway. There's bridges in New Orleans, and so yeah, it's just a possibility. Just something I've thought about. And, any other ride, I'm trying to think of any ride ideas I probably should have thought of. Outside from that swamp thing and from houses, I'm sure you guys can come up with, and of course Tiana's restaurant. Like it's, there could be stores, I guess. Or I guess you could have like a Dr. Facilier ride, maybe? Like, maybe? Yeah, well, you could, right? Maybe a little dark ride, kind of a short little, fun little dark ride. I don't know. Similar to like the, the rides that they have at Fantasyland. Maybe something like that, like Winnie the Pooh, or like those little carts. What is it? Like I guess Winnie the Pooh is the only one. I was thinking of like the Snow White ride, but that's not. Yeah, that's only in Disneyland now. Do they have a ride like that at Magic Kingdom now? I don't know. Aside from the Winnie the Pooh ride, like Peter Pan, it's like hanging, and I don't know. I'm trying to think right now. Peter Pan, no, they don't have dark rides like that. The rides that Walt Disney built, and yet they're really cool. I still think they're fun to go on, and that's another ride idea that you could have, I guess. But no, I think I think Tiana's Bayou is gonna be a good ride though, in terms of like they're gonna have a lot of stuff there. I'm sure there's gonna be it'll be a nice thrilling ride. Like that's probably enough to hold it, Yeah, it's probably enough to hold it. So like you could just have the ride, and then the restaurant, and then and then whatever else. Yeah, you could have the restaurant, and then you could have, kind of a swamp area, and then maybe some houses, and then a little waterfront here. And so, yeah, all right. Anyway, I think that's going to be it. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for joining me. And like I said, if you have any ideas, maybe you can share them. And also, if you like this idea, we can do more analyses like this, analyses in plural, or analysis. This is one analysis, but we can continue to do more analyses. It's been fun, and I enjoy. Thank you for. I like thinking about these things, and so thank you for listening. And you all, thank you.